Okay, welcome to what I call a little loopy. This is a little basic tutorial about how we can use lists to go through strings and to iterate through strings and different ways that we can do that. And just the whole idea of iteration. This is something that my students have trouble with when they first encounter it. So I'm going to walk you through a few examples and hopefully give you an idea of how that works in Python and how that can be used to solve certain types of problems. So let's get started. So let's say I've got a string, and I'm going to use Tokyo EdTech as my string, as that's my Twitter handle. And let's say that I want to print these letters individually, vertically, in the order that they are already in. Okay, now let's walk through and assume, let's say we don't even know what a loop is. We're going to just use a basic string index or a slice, however you want to call it. So I'm going to say print name 0. Okay, and 0, just as a reminder, 0 will give us the capital T. Okay, the indexes always start at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's 0 to 10. Even so, there's 11 letters, but we start at 0, so the last letter is 10. So what I could do is take that. Again, we're assuming we don't know what a loop is at this point. And I'm not sure if we got enough there, but 0, 9, we need one more. Okay, so I'm going to run that. Let's move that down a little bit. And you'll see here we got Tokyo EdTech going straight down. Okay, now, of course, what if we change this to something else? Let's say we throw the @ mark in at the beginning of that, and then we run it, and we'll get the H gets cut off. So we really don't want to do it that way, but that is the basic concept. So now when you're thinking about going from, say, this type of thing to a loop, okay, what part is getting repeated? So you'll notice here the print name part is getting repeated, but what changes is the 0, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So the key to this is that you want to look for a sequence. Okay? Anytime you see a sequence of this nature, you can replace that with a loop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete all that and say using a loop. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to say for index in range. Okay, we're starting at 0 because we want the 0th letter, and we're going all the way up to 11. Now I know if you're paying careful attention, I just said we're actually going to 10. The range function, the range method, I guess, how you want to put it, is non-inclusive. So the 11 doesn't actually get reached. So it's 0 to 10. So if I push that over, and then I'm going to put in here index, because what happens is, well, actually what I'll do is I'll do this. I'll say index, comma, name index to kind of show you what's happening. So I'm going to run that. And you'll see we got 0, T, 1, O, 2, K, etc., etc. So the loop, the way this works is index starts out as a 0. We print index, which is 0. We print name 0, which is T. Comes back around, goes to 1, 1, 1, goes around, etc., 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 up until 10. So it's 1 minus this. So what we can actually put here is the length of name. Okay, so because there's 11 characters here, we can just use that. So then if we do change that, it automatically takes care of that for us. Okay, so that is one way of doing that. Now, here's the next thing. Let's say we wanted to print the same thing, but in reverse order. So in this case, we're starting with 10. We're going down to, I'm going to put 0 here because that's what everybody thinks. And instead of going up by 1, we're going to go minus 1. Okay? If we don't put a third argument here, it automatically assumes you're going up by 1. But since we're starting at 10 and going down, we have to put -1. Okay, so let me run this and see what happens. Okay, so we got 10, which is H, C, and you notice it went down to 0. Or sorry, it went down to 1 and the O, my apologies. Again, it's non-inclusive. So since we're going down, we have to go 1 past 0 and put -1 in there. So let us test that. Okay, that gives us Tokyo EdTech backwards from 10 down to 0. So that's a thing that kind of does throw off, beginners especially. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is something very, very similar. Okay, and there's different ways to do this, but because I'm practicing loops, I'm doing it this way. Is I want to print the letters reversed and horizontally using a loop. Okay, so I'm going in reverse, so I'm going to go ahead and just go index in range 10, -1, -1. I'm going to keep that. And instead of printing it out this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. So I'm going to say reversed equals quote, quote. So we don't know what reversed is, it's empty. So each time through the loop, I want to add a letter to reversed. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say reversed plus equals name index. Okay, so what that's going to do is reverse starts out as nothing. So we start at index 10, which is H. Okay. That means that H is added to reversed. So this plus H is H. Comes back around. We went down by 1. So now we're on 9, which is the C. So H, which is what reversed is, plus C, go through, and so on and so forth. And then what I want to do outside the loop is print reversed. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, and there you go. You can see it is reversed. Now, if we print this inside the loop, maybe it gives you a little better insight into how that's working. So let me run that. Okay, so the first time through the loop, we've got H. Second time through the loop, we've got HC. So I'm going to go ahead and put index in here so you can see what's going on. And run that one more time for you. Okay, so 10 gives us H, 9 is H plus C, 8 is HC plus E, 7's HCE plus T, etc., all the way down to the bottom. So that is how we would reverse a string. And yes, I know there are other ways to do it. We can use a slice or the reversed method, but for now we want to practice with our loops. Okay. So that was different ways of printing loops or printing strings, breaking them apart and iterating through them. We also have another way of doing that, and this is something a little bit different. So I'm going to say so print letters vertically again. And so this is what we would call a for each loop. So for letter in name. Okay. Now this works. Name is a string. Okay. Strings are made up of a bunch of letters or characters. I could have called this character, but I'll call it letter for now. And I can say print letter. So I don't have to use the index here. And this works because I'm starting at the beginning and I'm going all the way to the end. And what this gives us, okay, is Tokyo EdTech. Now I can't use this to print it in reverse because it only goes forward. But it's just a convenient way of looping through a string letter by letter. And that's going to become in real handy here in a couple minutes. So yeah, it's a very powerful, very useful thing. So what I want to do with my next thing is I want to count letters. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. I got that on another thing. And I'm going to paste this here. And what I have is a quote from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it talks about a towel. And if you haven't read this book, definitely go out and get it now. It's the best thing you could possibly do for your life. So what I want to do is I want to go through this quote And notice I use 3 quotation marks because it's a multi-line string, and 3 at the end. So I want to go through letter by letter. So I'm going to say in quote. I'm going to say print letter. And let's just make sure it works first. Okay, so if I scroll all the way up, you can see I went all the way down through this. Oops. Letter by letter. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to actually count the letters. Okay, so watch what I do here. So I want to count the number of A's. I want to count the number of B's, C's, and D's, so forth. So I'm going to try this. So I'm going to do A first. So count A equals 0. So when we start this, A is 0. We don't know how many there are. So what I'm going to do, for each letter in the quote, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that lowercase. You could do upper if you wanted to, but I prefer lower. I'm going to say if letter equals A, count A plus equals 1. And then when that's done, I'm going to print, so A dot count A. Oops, dot format count A. Okay, so I'm going to run that real quick. And you see here, it comes up with A is 72. We've got 72 A's in there. Now, I'll take it at its word. I'm assuming my code's correct. Now, let's say we want to do B. Okay, so I can do count B, count B, count B, count B, count B, and let's run it. Okay, so we got 72 A's, 13 B's. And I can do count C. C, 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 C. Now this is getting tiring, and we'll go around this in a second. Okay, now C, I've got 20 C's. Now, as I was saying before, and this is where the thinking part comes in about loops and iteration. Again, we have a sequence. Okay. But in this case, it's not 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. The sequence that we have, notice all the code's basically the same, except for the A, then B, then C. So anytime that we've got a sequence, turn that into a loop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of those, and I'm going to make a new loop for character in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z, or Z for our friends who speak English. So I'm going to say count, and it's not going to be A this time. It's going to be just count, because it's going to change each time. Okay, and then what I want to do here is character. I'll explain this in a second. Okay, so what I've done is I've just replaced all those 26 character checks. And what this does, oops, this has got to be indented, for character in the alphabet. Okay, so we're going to start at A. Our count is 0. So for letter in quote, so this is the quote, and we made it lowercase. So if the letter, so if this letter, which is going to be lowercase a, equals the character, which is A, add 1 to the count. So it's going to go through and check every single letter against the first character. And when it's done, it's going to print out the character and the count. Then it's going to come back around. It's going to go to B. So now, for each letter in that quote, if the letter equals the character, which is B, add 1 to the count. Once it's all done, print it, and oops, it should output that there. Okay, so this will go through the entire alphabet, I hope, and tell us how many letters there are in this quotation. So let me run that. And I've got indentation error. Probably we're all sitting there saying, oh, it's indented wrong. It's a lot harder to do when you're talking and encoding. Anyway, so let's run that again. Okay, and there we go. We've got 72 A's, 13 B's, so on and so forth. No Q's, and only one Z and two X's. So that is the breakdown of characters in this quote. So you can see, rather than using variables like count A, count B, count C, putting a bunch of different loops, or having one big like if letter equals A, L if letter equals B, L if letter equals C, we can just do it with just a few lines, and we have what's called a nested loop, because we have a loop within a loop. But I think the key thing for beginners and people who are just really starting out is recognizing when you have a sequence. So we had letter equals A, then letter equals B, then letter equals C, then letter equals D. Earlier we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10, and then 10 down to 0. So recognizing those types of patterns and then putting them into a loop format will shrinks your code, makes it easier to write and easier to update. Although this isn't probably the most efficient algorithm for this. There's probably a better way to do that. So that was a little bit about loops. Hope you learned something from it. Give it a shot, and let me know how it goes in the comments, and please do subscribe. Thanks so much.